Hello once again, everyone. This is Justin from Tame Type 1. What do you think about the new backdrop? Very nice, huh? Before I get back into the old diabetes and give you some more great content, there's something I've been wanting to get off my chest, honestly. For a long time, and it might be too little too late, but I have to say it. It has to be said, and it's about the juice. I'm not talking about grape juice, apple juice, orange juice, any of that. I'm talking about the science juice. The science juice, the one that is so popular that people are lining up and down the block to get it. It's so safe and effective that people are being forced to get it. It's so healthy, so good for you, so good at saving lives that you have people now who are being denied organ donations because they don't have it. For the health. They're saving the person's life by making them take something that's going to save their life, by stopping them from getting the organ that definitely would save their life. That juice, that life-saving juice. And I want to give my take on it because while I know there's a lot of people out there who've already decided one way or another, for the 5 people left in the world who aren't quite sure what to think, here's what I believe about it as a dissident diabetic. My opinion on the juice, as I like to call it for the censors out there, is no thanks. I don't trust it. I don't trust the experts. I don't trust the science behind it. I'm wearing a shirt that says the science denier for a reason. It's because I do not have faith in it, and personally, I'm never going to take it. Ever. And I don't think you should either. Why, though? Why is that? Aren't you concerned about your health, Justin? Yes, of course I am. Why would I be doing what I do? Why would I have changed what I eat so drastically and meticulously managed my diabetes for the past 5 years if I wasn't worried about my health? I am. And I'm also worried about the health of others around me. Why else would I be making these videos? I do it for free, after all. I do care a lot about health. I do care a lot about the health of others, and that's why I'm making this video and saying I don't trust it. Because I don't trust a lot of things the doctor's done for a long time. Do you? After all, you're watching this channel. I don't trust the doctors. And I don't trust them because the doctors are the ones that told me that I can eat whatever amount of carbs I want. They're the ones that told me that as long as you take insulin, everything's going to be okay. They're the ones that told me an A1C of 8% is just fine. They're the ones that told me that eating low carb is dangerous, that you have to have at least 180 carbs a day or you're not going to grow, and all this nonsense. That was actually bad advice for diabetes. The same people that told you all of that nonsense, that's been proven false time and time again, they keep saying it despite the evidence. They're now saying, trust us. Trust us with this brand new technology that we've never tried before, that we've never really experimented on a massive scale on human beings ever before. Trust us with this juice that we don't know the long-term effects of. Just trust us. And yeah, we haven't done any studies on it. We don't really know the long-term effects in 5, 10, 20 years. But trust us. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? Well, the lies that I've heard from you guys, the experts, the doctors, the medical establishment on diabetes, led to a lot of wrong. To the tune of millions of people losing their feet, losing their eyesight, losing their kidney function, gastroparesis, everything else that goes wrong with diabetes. Stuff that could have been avoided had they just been given the right information from the get-go. But instead, the people who end up with these complications trusted the doctors. The doctors who lied to them and gave them bad information. What's the difference now? Honestly, I see a lot of parallels between this and how badly diabetes has been treated, and the misinformation and the dishonesty, the lack of accountability when it comes to managing diabetes. I see a lot of the same stuff here, and so I just don't trust it. I don't trust the doctors. I don't trust the pharmaceutical companies. I don't trust the people who have made a living turning me into a cash cow rather than trying to actually help me, okay? I don't trust the people that force me to put content on YouTube with dissident information, with radical new advice you've never heard before, because they're not giving it to you. I don't trust them. And I don't think you should either. And I especially don't trust them when they're not even being honest about the results. At least with diabetes, when you get complications, they're honest. They say, yeah, it's because you're diabetes. When you get diagnosed, they tell you, yeah, you're going to get all these complications. But with the juice, they're not honest about it, aren't they? They say it's safe and effective. They don't tell you anything about any adverse consequences. At best, they don't know, and at worst, they're covering up the truth. And it turns out it probably is the latter. There's a lot of adverse reactions people have been having to this juice. People have been talking about all the time, and what do? Slide it on the rug. They don't talk about it. They ignore it. They dismiss it. They will blame everything but the juice, right? Just to give you an example, my own uncle, and I don't have a lot of people in my personal life. I'm not a very, popular guy. I don't talk to every single person in the world. In my close circle of relationships, my own uncle got the juice. And just a few days later, get this, a few days later, he gets a temperature of 105 degrees. He gets hospitalized. You know what the doctor tells him? He got the juice a few days ago. You know what the doctor tells him? He said it's because he got sick with the very thing the juice is supposed to help him overcome, right? That's interesting. You're not going to blame the juice? No, you're going to blame he just magically got sick. He just happened to be sick moments before getting it, right? Or just a little bit after. Just so happened to be that way. And this is actually the case for a lot of people. Turns out that the way they measure these statistics for people that get the juice and don't, and hospitalizations, all that, I'm sure you've heard a lot about that, right? Well, you know how they make those statistics up? Turns out that you're considered unjuiced. If you got the juice, but got the last dose of the juice less than 2 weeks ago. So let's say you have an adverse reaction to the juice, and you end up in the hospital like my uncle did. You're not juiced yet according to the statistics. And if you test positive for the juice virus, right, then guess what? You're going to be labeled as an unjuiced hospitalization, even though you're coming into the hospital with complications that you probably got from the fucking juice that you took a few days ago. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? So they're not even being honest about the reaction. So you're telling me that I should trust these doctors who have lied to me my entire lives, giving me terrible advice that was exactly counter to what I should have done with my diabetes. You're telling me to trust these doctors who actually don't know what this juice is going to do. And by the way, if something happens, if I do get an adverse reaction, they're going to ignore it. They're going to swipe on the rug. At best, they'll say, yeah, it's because of the juice. But we don't know what to do about it because we don't know what the heck this mRNA stuff is doing. It's an experiment. It's an experiment, and they're using us as lab rats. And if something bad happens to one of us lab rats, how are they going to know what to do? They don't know what to do because they've never seen anything like it before because it's brand new. Hello? So I'd rather stick to what works. I'd rather stick to my own immune system rather than this new science juice that's supposed to save everyone, yet doesn't seem to be doing a good job at all. Israel and plenty of other countries show it's not doing a good job at all. Yeah, I'm supposed to just trust it. Doesn't make any sense. And it blows my mind that there are diabetics out there like me who know the doctors lie to them, who know they've been misled by doctors despite all the evidence concerning low carb. And yet, when the doctors say, oh, take this juice, we never tried before, we don't know what it does, but go ahead and take it, it's going to save your life, they just believe it? Hello? I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me. It's sketchy. When people ask me about it, what I basically tell them is, I'll give it 20 years. Let the long-term data come out, and then I'll decide. Because honestly, I don't trust these lab coats at their word. And I have good reason not to. They've lied to me before. They've caused me immense harm in my life. They've caused immense harms to a lot of other people just like me. I don't trust them. Science is a tricky thing. Science in theory is supposed to be very rigorous. It's supposed to be able to find the best solutions. But what you find with science in the real world, outside of, books and papers, is very biased. It's very political. Because people are political. People are biased. And people make up the studies. People do the studies. People actually are the ones that carry it all out. And so it ends up prone to bias. And anytime you have any sort of scientific work that has political bias wrapped up in it, nutrition's a big one. That's why you can't trust nutritional science. Anytime you have a lot of controversy in science, it's automatically less trustworthy because you know that people are going to be having biases going into it. Well, what's the case here? And even despite that bias, you're still seeing plenty of science going against it. And, oh, these scientists, they say trust the science. Why aren't they talking about that? Why aren't they talking about the studies showing that the juice is causing more adverse effects for young people than the actual sicknesses, than the actual flu is supposed to cause, right? They're not talking about it. You know why? It's because they're biased. It's because they don't want to talk about it. They want everyone to get this juice. They want everyone to comply with their demands, whether it's actually healthy for them or not. It's just like with diabetes. You know, you'd think doctors would be in this profession managing diabetes to help diabetics. But it seems more and more, the more you learn about how to actually manage diabetes appropriately, that they're in it for a paycheck, not for actually helping people. And that seems to be the case here too. It's about money, and it's not about health. It's not about the truth. It's not about what's right. It's about what's convenient. It's about the money. It's about what their interests tell them to promote. Sadly, I wish it wasn't like this, but it is. So that's my take on it. I don't trust it. I'm not going to take it. And especially if you have a diabetic child, I would highly recommend they don't get the juice either because, I have a long life ahead of me. Kids hopefully have long lives ahead of them. We don't know what this juice is going to do to people in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. The risk is greater and greater and greater long term for the kids and for the young people like me than it is for the older guys. The people that are Dr. Bernstein. And by the way, I don't even think people who are as old as Dr. B should be taking it. But nonetheless, especially not the kids. What if something happens to them? Are you going to be happy? Are you going to feel responsible for that? Are you going to recognize the error that you caused and that you pushed something on your child that hurt them in this way? I think maybe that's one reason they're lying. Maybe that's one reason they're not being honest because they don't want to admit. Just like with the diabetic doctors, they don't want to admit that what they're doing is harming people, that what they're doing is killing people, that they're wrong. People don't like to admit that, especially people with a PhD. So that's my take on it. I know it's a little long. I know it's a little repetitive. The message is, don't trust these people. You already know you shouldn't trust them. You already don't trust them with diabetes. Don't trust them now that there's a new topic they're talking about. There's still the same amount of hubris when it comes to the juice as it does with the people who are so stern about giving you a high-carb diet, who are so stern about saying that meat is bad for you and it's cancer and blah, blah, blah. The same amount of error there exists in plenty of other medical fields, especially when it comes to the juice. So keep that in mind, everyone. Stay healthy, keep taming that type 1, and remember, you're healthy if you manage your diabetes appropriately. You're not going to be immunosuppressed. You're going to be just fine. So don't worry so much about it, okay? Stay safe, stay healthy, get your vitamin D, and just keep living. Don't worry about these people. And when it comes to the mandates, by the way, I'm going to make a separate video about that. That's a whole different topic, honestly. I just wanted to make my take known, make it clear to you, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for it, But hope you have a great day and keep taming that type 1. See you next time.